Bruce Wayne doesn't gain his power from radioactive accident or an alien birthright. He gains it from choice. Let's get started on today's episode.
We have a signal now for when I'm needed. But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning. To them.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Beyond the Batsignal. I'm your host, Don Ikanika. Join me as we dive into the depths of Batman's lore, dissecting the rogues gallery, and uncovering the stories of our iconic vigilante known as the Dark Knight. Beyond the Batsignal is a extremely proud member of the Batman Podcast Network, hosted by Batman on Film. You can check a whole list of shows, including Straight Outta Gotham and the Batman Book Club. They're hosted by, guests that you've heard on this show before, Peter Arvera, Ryan Lauer, and also the chief himself, Bill Jet Ramey. He's also the one running Batman on Film, and they got their own podcast, of course, and they're the GOAT, hands down. Now, for today's episode, we're going to look at the philosophy of Bruce Wayne / Batman. Why Gotham's Dark Knight is more than just a vigilante. But I'm going to use this with the lens of year one. And I guess strap in your seatbelts, ease the seat back, and kick it into gear, because here we go. First up, let's do a brief overview of Frank Miller's Batman Year One. And when you look at that comic, or if you've watched the animated film, highly recommend both. I'll tell you right now that Batman Year One, the book, is highly regarded. It's on my top 3. It's on almost everyone's top 3. And when you look at Batman Year One, it isn't about Batman's gadgets or necessarily the villains. It's all about the intention. And, you know, when you look at what Bruce admits very early on in that book, where he's like, I have to know, if I tried, would I be good at it? And that line isn't about fighting crime necessarily. It's about purpose, right? Now, before Batman exists, Bruce Wayne is already searching for meaning, right? Like meaning to his life, searching for a way to justify his survival. Because his parents didn't get to survive, but he did. And he's trying to justify it and find meaning behind it. And what I thought that Year One did an incredible job from start to finish was they stripped down Batman all the way down to his philosophy. What does justice look like when a system fails? Which I thought that Batman Begins, really does an excellent job of adapting Year One, and looks at how, what does the justice system look like when it fails, when it doesn't work, and what does morality cost, and how much of yourself can you give away before there's nothing left. And that's what we're going to get into. So first off, trauma. A lot of us have experienced it, and to me, trauma is the origin for Bruce Wayne / Batman. So what do I mean by trauma as the origin? I think if you're a big Batman fan, even just a casual, we all know what happened to Bruce. His parents were murdered right in front of him. And this is pretty much what kickstarted of the path that Bruce is going to take and avenge his parents. And he was traumatized. He was left, like Chris Nolan just does an incredible, masterful job depicting what Bruce did and or didn't do and how he reacted. And if you watch Batman Begins, he's completely motivated by what happened, and he's absolutely traumatized. And I think, and I like to use Batman Begins and Year One kind of interchangeably because they're both very much connected in my opinion. But when Bruce returns to Gotham, he's not a hero at that point. But he's a man that's pretty much haunted by inadequacy. Like, he's the one who he's done all this training, but still feels like there's something more, there's something missing. And, in Year One, he says that the city's eating itself. Like, maybe it's beyond saving. It's not a man that's confidence. Sorry, this is not a man that is confident. This is despair where he's doubting his own self. Like, rage alone is not what he's driven by, but it's also guilt. And Ra's al Ghul kind of highlights that to Bruce Wayne in Batman Begins. But Batman or Bruce says like his anger outweighs his guilt, and but I think it plays a big part. And he looks at it and it's like, his parents died, he survived, they didn't. And when that's, to me, one of the most important aspects of Batman's history is that his parents were shot, killed, but he survived. He was the sole survivor. He watched them die, and right there, he reacted like, okay, how do I react where this doesn't happen to anyone else ever? And I think that when Bruce kind of remembers the gunshots, like, he refuses to use a gun for an excellent rule, and it's to separate, what he says is to separate us from them. And I love that rule. But it takes a lot where he gets to the point of him becoming Batman. And it's not until Year One where a bat crashes through the window and Bruce thinks, yes, Father, I shall become a bat. And this philosophy is kind of like crystallized and just kind of like, it's clear as day to him, of this symbol that he's going to strike fear into the criminals. And this isn't born from strength, but it's, he's born from surrendering to fear and reshaping it. Like, how epic of a scene in Batman Begins where Bruce goes into the cave, and we all know that it's, as Bruce says, I'm trying to remember the actor, oh my god, come to me, Christian Bale, says, bats frighten me, and now enemies are going to share my dread. And this man just like goes into the cave with the light on, and bats just surround him. Like, what an epic scene. And he's just being surrounded by bats, the thing that scares the living daylights out of him. And he's going to reshape it to use it to his advantage. I mean, incredible. But there's no doubt that it's trauma that was the origin for who Batman was going to be. So when I talk about fear, Begins, like the whole theme of Batman Begins, and even you can use Batman, oh my god, I was going to say Arkham Origins, Batman Year One is fear, and using the bat as a fear. Like, when all of a sudden, like, and I even think of Mask of the Phantasm, like, when Bruce was going out there as a vigilante, not dressed as Batman, and he took down the criminals, but they weren't afraid of him, and he had to think of something in order to strike fear into the heart of those criminals, and you could look at, let's use Mask of the Phantasm first, where Batman puts that mask on and literally, Alfred is just absolutely frightened. Like, probably one of the most memorable scenes in Mask of the Phantasm. And Alfred is just in complete shock and goes, "My God." Or you look at when it's Batman's first night out and he's hiding in the shadows, and all of a sudden he starts taking out Falcone's men, and there's one guy just like kind of spraying, praying, meaning like he's just shooting aimlessly, hoping to hit Batman, and he just screams out, "Where are you?" out of fear. And then Batman out of nowhere is just like, "Here," and just kind of takes everyone out. And they're all scared. They're all frantic. They can't find him. He's hiding in the shadows. And, the one thing about Batman is like, he doesn't want criminals to understand who he is, right? Like, that's Batman's job. He wants them to be afraid before they ever see him. Meaning, like, the whole idea of this Batman is to be scary, to know that he's around and watching. Like, the whole bat signal, you see it in The Dark Knight at the beginning, where, people are not going out at nighttime anymore because all they have to have is a signal out, and it's to strike fear. And I think that Begins did such a good job of depicting who Batman is and how he's striking fear into criminals. And with Year One, he says, "They think I hide in the shadows, watching, waiting." Batman intentionally becomes like a rumor. And even the Batman does that. Like, and I'm talking about the 2022, The Batman, where he talks about he is the shadows, like, I love it. And he intentionally wants to become not only that rumor, but he wants to use fear as a deterrent, not as cruelty. Meaning, like, he's out there and it's a symbol, and it's to intentionally say, like, think twice before you're doing something because you never know. I might be watching and you can't see me, right? And I'm not dropping a John Cena reference when I say you can't see me. But, and then all of a sudden, then there's Gordon, who hears criminals talking about him. One says, "Something's out there watching us." Like, I took that right from Year One. But, and it's very similar with Begins, where, Jim Gordon is like, he hears people, the criminals, and even, cops just talking about Batman, and Batman's like, "Well, what do you think about me?" And he basically saying, like, "I think you're here to do good," right? Like, but at the same time, people are talking about him, and the only one who's really seen them or seen Batman is Jim Gordon. And that's the whole point. Like, Batman's less of a man, but more of an idea. And wasn't that the whole point of what Ra's al Ghul was trying to drive home with Bruce Wayne? Was, he wants him to become an ideal. Like, one of my favorite scenes in Batman Begins is exactly that. And I'll quote it right now. Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson, says, "If you make yourself more than just a man, if you devote yourself to an ideal, and if they can't stop you, then you become something else entirely." And I just love that quote, especially with his voice. So good. Liam Neeson just knocks it out of the park. And really, like, he becomes an ideal, and like, people that think of him is just, it's all fear, right? And then I'll even throw in the Batman. Like, you see when that signal comes out, like, people kind of are like, when Batman says, "I am the shadows," like, people are looking, they know about the rumors, and people are running frantically at the beginning of that film. So good. Like, and Matt Reeves just completely understood who Bruce Wayne / Batman was, and that the whole entire movie, when it comes to Begins, is just all about using fear as a tool and to ensure that, like, criminals run away and try to deter themselves. I don't know. I just think that that's exactly the whole point of what Bruce Wayne wanted to drive home. And same thing, even in Mask of the Phantasm, right? Like, to have that fear when the second he put that mask on, it's like, my God, like these criminals are in for a scare. So this whole rule that Batman has, right? Like you instilling fear and to ensure that there's a no-kill rule. Like, I know at times can be controversial. I don't know why. This is what makes Batman Batman. It's like one of the Bible elements that every creator has to follow. And except Zack Snyder, I guess, right? Nothing against Zack Snyder, and I get it. Like Michael Keaton too. He does technically kill. And for Bat fans, I mean, because that's one of the big things that Bruce Wayne stands by is his no kill rule. Like that's just, since he was a kid, like it was just like, no, like my parents were killed, and one of the philosophies I'm going to bring forward is the no kill rule. I'm not going to kill. I'm going to do it the right way, by the book. And even though Batman Year One and even Begins never really spell it out and just say it in like big bold letters and just have like a huge monologue saying, I'm not going to kill, but he shows it through the restraint. Batman beats criminals brutally, but he stops short. The Batman, same thing, especially when it's near the ending and Batman's beating the crap out of one of Riddler's henchmen, right? And he beats the living crap out of him. Or at the beginning of the scene where, he's fighting that gang off the train. And, and I'll never forget because we had the DC fandom and we got that trailer. Oh my God. But then he just beats the living crap out of the guy and then says he's vengeance. But there's still restraint. He still stops just enough, right? And yeah, even though he beats him brutally, he still stops short. And it's to send a message. And after his first major fight in Year One, Bruce reflects. Like he's like, I'm not finished yet. I can't lose control. And to me, that line matters so much because for him, the whole goal of this is to stay in control. And he understands that Batman can be a very, very slippery slope. And, not for anything. I know Batman Forever gets a lot of flack, but Val Kilmer and just nails the line where it's like, if you kill another person and another and another, and it's kind of like, and then what? And he's saying this to Dick. And I think, they hit the nail right on the head. And, violence without limits isn't just justice, it's indulgence. And later when kind of Jim Gordon considers crossing the lines within the police force, Batman becomes that mirror. And he just tells him, and this is a quote from Year One, where he's like, there are limits, even for us. And Batman's philosophy isn't about purity, but it's about containment. And he says, like, listen, you're still within the law, but don't cross that line. You can walk it, but don't cross that line. Because he knows that once killing becomes acceptable, the mission for them, especially for Batman, is over. Right? The whole reason why his parents died and he became who he became, the mission is over, right? Like he becomes as exactly what, like, in Chris Nolan, like Ra's al Ghul wants Bruce Wayne to be an executioner and Batman refuses. Like it separates us from them and he refuses. And I love that that's his line. And you almost believe that he's about to kill this guy. And rather than kill him, he sets the whole place on fire and almost kills himself. So I think that once Batman, if he were to kill, and it's that slippery slope and he's just not going to cross it. And I love that the no killing line is something that a lot of people stand by. Matt Reeves completely understands it. And I don't know, I love it. And, it keeps Batman in complete control. And even Rachel Dawes kind of shows like what the difference between justice and revenge, where she says justice is about harmony, revenge is about making yourself feel better. And Batman could easily be like, I'm gonna get revenge for my parents, and go and kill every criminal, or he can show justice about showing why their way, the right way by the book, works. And I think that again, like that's the one beautiful thing about Batman Begins is every character has such an impactful voice, whether they have a small part or big role. It doesn't matter. They have a huge impact on the film itself and understanding who Batman is. And that's why Batman Begins is the perfect origin movie to me. Now, with Justice and Harmony, there's obviously going to be times where Batman faces a lot of chaos to the point where he might lose someone he loves. I think Joker really, really pushes him to the point where you see it in comics, you see it in The Dark Knight, and you're like, how does Batman not kill this guy? Joker killed Jason Todd, and Batman still refuses to kill Joker, And to me, that is complete self-control rather than raising chaos. And, you could see, like, Joker likes to raise chaos for no other reason than that's the joke to him. But, and then you look at year one, which, you see that year one Batman, he's not polished. He makes mistakes. He got shot. He barely survives. And, Batman admits it. He even says right from year one, I have to force myself to remember everything I learned. And it's Batman's obsession with preparation from one truth, that chaos is always, always, always waiting. But he's always prepared. Prepared for the criminal, like he's a detective, so he's going to be prepared. He has to know what to expect, and he has to do the work, as Pete Vera is going to say. He has to do the work and do his, study his opponents and understand where their weaknesses come from. And I think that's why he even studies Gotham so obsessively and how he plans every move, every execution. I don't know. And I think, with Frank Miller doing year one, he does a great job of delivering that, even though he makes us as the reader know that Batman is not unstoppable. And it shows that, people that are unprepared die. And with Batman, someone who does not have superpowers, yes, he has fantastic gadgets, but he's always, always, always prepared. And, Ben Affleck kind of jokes in Justice League where it's like, what's your superpower? And he goes, I'm rich. Not really. He's the detective. He's the one who understands the opponents and how he can tear apart and break them. He's just a wrecking machine. And it's just how he breaks people down because he studies them and understands their every move. The only one he doesn't understand is Joker, right? And I love the exchange between Bruce and Alfred in The Dark Knight, where it's like, maybe this is someone that you don't understand. And I thought that was just fantastic. I don't know. I look at Batman and it's like, it is a lot about control. And there's going to be people around, within Gotham that die. And it's like, how do you resist that temptation? You see Jason Todd get killed. And Jason Todd in Under the Red Hood kind of just lays it out. He killed me and you didn't avenge me. And for Batman, his whole philosophy is because that's who he is. That's not who I am. That's not what I believe in. And that's how he trains the Bat family, right? No kill rule. I love it. I don't know. That's just me, though. Now, when it comes to Bruce Wayne versus Batman, we're going to look at the multiple different masks here. I think that approach philosophically is brilliant. You have billionaire Bruce Wayne, the playboy, and then you have the actual Bruce Wayne with Alfred, and then you have Batman. So it's okay. So the billionaire playboy, the mask, the real Bruce Wayne is, with him with Alfred and how he acts truly. And then you have Batman also wearing a mask, but also his true self. So I don't know. And I think that in year one, when Batman, or even in Begins, Bruce Wayne goes to that dinner party, he kind of performs that role where he plays the fool. It's for him. He says it's easier that way. Bruce Wayne acts as like the billionaire playboy, shows up to a party with, multiple women around his shoulder, and he's hiding exactly who he is. He's pretending to be drunk. He's a drunk, and Bruce Wayne shows this is the mask, the aloof, the guy who he can't be prepared. He can't be Batman. This guy's drunk, and he's acting like such a clown. And you see Batman, who is dead serious. And with Batman, everything has a purpose. The costume is abundantly clear. It's focused, it's purposeful. Whereas Bruce Wayne comes off as there's no purpose. He's not that focused. He is, he's showing up at meetings, falling asleep, and coworkers are looking around like, what the F is this? Like, this guy is falling asleep during a meeting. I love what Nolan did during Dark Knight, showing Bruce Wayne half asleep. And he's in and out of it, just drifting away, and but then Bruce Wayne, the billionaire playboy, and even in The Dark Knight Rises, where you see John Blake kind of go to his house and just say, I know exactly who you are. You're Batman. Like, you showed up with a couple girls over your arms, but he's like, he smiled and he's like, I know exactly who you were, because I taught myself that smile as well. And it's like, he sees right through it. And, you have Batman, who is prepared, concise, and that whole philosophy of trying to make sure like no one's ever going to believe a billionaire playboy dresses up in the middle of the night as a bat to take down criminals. Yay to you, Lucius Fox, who kind of was to convince the guy who's slipping my mind right now. But, and that was a good line. Like, to me, I'd be like, yeah, that's true. Like, why would a billionaire playboy just kind of, who's always joking around and aloof, going to show up and then take down criminals? Just can't see it happening. Now, again, philosophically, Batman is Bruce's true self. Then you look at Batman is where he's focused, purpose driven. Bruce Wayne, the billionaire, like that's the disguise, the social construct to me, is designed, the philosophy behind it is designed to mislead people in public, because he has to make these public appearances. He owns Wayne Industries, right? Now, obviously that becomes at a cost, where Batman struggles with intimacy because of closeness to, which, like, listen, if he gets close to anybody, that's vulnerability, right? And he's trying to not be vulnerable. And like that to me is a risk. Anyone that's close to him has a chance of dying. And, it's not Bruce that doesn't fear, Bruce doesn't fear death. He fears failure. And, I get that from, I'd say, The Dark Knight Rises, right? You don't fear death, and he doesn't. Like, I think, he's more fearful of failing Gotham. And he doesn't want to fail Gotham because he doesn't want to fail that child back in the day in Crime Alley. So here's where Batman kind of keeps everyone at arm's length, saying, I like you, but that's it. And it's not out of arrogance, but it's out of the fear of loss. Like, he has Lucius Fox, he has Alfred, and yeah, he has Dick, but like even then he had Jason Todd, and again, lost to Robin. So, and Batman he can't endure this type of loss. It's tough. That's why he wears the mask. That's why in The Dark Knight Rises, it's if you're fighting alone, wear a mask. Like, they kind of drive home the point. Like, yeah, that's the whole point. Thanks to Batman Begins in year and also year one. But like Falcone, he's like, you haven't thought about your lady friend, the DA, or, your butler. Bah, right? And that kind of just drives home, like, yeah, like, I got to wear a mask if I want to protect these guys. And Batman says it best in The Dark Knight Rises, where if you're working alone, wear a mask. And it's, he says, like, it's not for you, it's for the people you care about. And I love that. Now, one last point behind Batman's philosophy, okay, is that his belief is that the ends don't justify the means. Okay, what do I mean by the belief that ends never justify the means? Now, to me, this is his philosophy and pretty much his whole moral architecture of what Batman is about, where most heroes are willing to bend the rules and enough to save people. And Batman refuses that logic to me. Okay, now let's look at some Harvard evidence. Okay, like you look at how he won't kill Joker. Okay, well, why? We all think, well, why doesn't this guy just kill Joker and then that's it? Like, end of story. He saves future victims. But Batman doesn't do that. He won't torture information out of someone even if time is running out, aka the Dark Knight. He won't kill the guy. He won't rule Gotham through fear even if it won't stop crying overnight. Well, why? Because he knows that if he allows himself to justify one immoral act, like kill the Joker for the greater good, then he's no longer different from the criminals he fights. So that line that he drew doesn't move. Okay? It doesn't move. He can walk the line, but he does not cross it. And for Batman, his whole mission, circling back to the whole no killing rule, is not just about saving Gotham, but it's proving that justice can exist without being corrupted. And that's where, to Batman, Bruce Wayne, Gotham is worth saving, where Ra's al Ghul is saying, no, we have to kill and bleed out the entire city in order to start fresh. And Bruce Wayne is like, no, Gotham is not beyond saving. There's good people here. And, to me, that's where I think that Batman's code is so rigid. It's not about him being stubborn. That's his whole philosophical self-defense of why Batman is who he is. And, like, he could easily kill these criminals with ease, but he doesn't. And, and peace of mind. And then all of a sudden he can go to sleep at night and that's it. Gotham is saved. But no, he'd rather put them in jail the right way. And here's Jim Gordon, same thing. He can have one bad day. And even before Batman goes in, Jim Gordon says, do it by the book. By the book. I don't know. To me, this is what makes Batman so idolized by so many fans. There's so many reasons why. And you can look at it through a philosophical point of view or a psychological point of view. But he is, in my opinion, so admirable and something that myself and I know many fans love about him. And then this is, to me, is like, to conclude everything, okay? You look at year one, and this is what defines Batman. And Batman even says, like, this is just the beginning. And that's the point. Batman isn't a finished philosophy. He's has an ongoing struggle between fear, hope, his control, the compassion, and Bruce Wayne doesn't believe Gotham will ever be perfect because no city is. But I gotta believe that when you look at Batman, for him, he looks at it's like, well, listen, it's not gonna be perfect, but it's worth standing up for, and it's night after night, and even if it costs him everything, including his own happiness. So Batman's philosophy is like, listen, I'm gonna sacrifice my own happiness, my own love, but it's gonna cost me this. If this is because this is what I believe, this is my mission, and he doesn't just fight because he's sure he'll win. He fights because someone has to. And he's that one guy who knows how to do it. And that's like his whole mission. This is what he did since his parents were shot, I think at the age of 10, 11? I don't even know. Message me, let me know when. But I think that's why year one is such a perfect Batman story. Batman Begins is such a perfect Batman origin story. And I think for us as fans, this is why we love Batman. He's a perfect superhero. Now, that is it for me and Batman and the whole philosophy behind who Batman is. Now, let's get to the socials, shall we? So where can you find me? On X/Twitter at beyondthebatsignal. You can shoot me a message over there, or we have an Instagram account. And you can find me at beyondthebatsignal. This will be in the show notes as well. Where, I've been posting lately, even on YouTube. With YouTube, it's a bit more Arkham stuff. But follow along. I've had a great time. And yeah, shoot me a message if you have any questions. I also have an email at beyondthebatsignal@gmail.com. So that's all for now. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, shoot me a message, DM me. Really looking forward to some upcoming episodes. I know that finally we have next month Hush 2. I guess issue number 6. I'm just going to call it issue number 6. That's coming out. Looking forward to reading that and reviewing it. I know episodes have been coming out not as frequently as I like. Hoping to pick that up. But with that being said, my name's Dominic. This is Beyond the Bat Signal. And we are signing off.